A local machinery builder and reseller bought the contents of a closed machine shop and posted pictures of the equipment on their Facebook page. The shop that had closed was about 10 minutes from my house. One of the machines I could see in the background of one of the pictures piqued my interest enough that I wanted to go take a look at it. It was the kind of a machine that is on my workshop bucket list. So I made arrangements with Mike, the owner of Lee's Machinery. He's the one driving the forklift, to meet me at the shop so I could get a closer look at the machine and check it out. We chatted for a little bit. The machine was still under power, so I was able to give it a pretty good once-over and at least come up with a reasonable evaluation of the condition of the machine. And after a brief negotiation, we came to an agreement, and well, I did it again. I bought another machine before my last one was finished. Moving it was actually pretty easy. We had to move a few workbenches out of the way and that surface grinder, and then used a chain to drag it out into the open. We put a couple of wood planks on the forks of the forklift and then used it to lift it to back it out. The machine weighs about 2,500 pounds, give or take. And I had the most important job of the day, and that was to use a broom to move the air lines out of the way so they didn't hit the headache rack on the forklift. There was a second machine similar to the one that I've purchased that was also up for sale. That one there to the left, wrapped in cellophane. It was built in October of 1936, and the last time that it was used in a production shop was about a week before this video was recorded. Just as I did when I brought the Bridgeport home, I rented a trailer that has a hydraulic deck that can be dropped down to the ground to make loading and unloading a lot easier. So to load this machine onto the trailer, all Mike has to do is drive the forklift up on it and put it where we want it. And to make unloading a little easier, I asked Mike to use the forklift to spin it around so it was facing backwards. I brought along with me the tie-down straps I used to secure my Jeep onto my trailer when I'm towing it. I'm going to make sure it's good and secure, but I don't really need to overdo it since it's such a short drive back home.
Very cool.
Now this is the tricky part. The overhead door to my workshop faces my neighbor's property. So I only have about 20 feet between my fence and this overhead door. I asked my wife if she could come out and give me a hand to make sure I was at least aiming the trailer in the right direction of the overhead door and that I wasn't going to end up taking out a wall in the process. I figure if she's keeping an eye on where the trailer is at in relationship to the building, I can keep my eye on where the truck is at in relationship to the steel posts that hold up the gate.
No, not yet. Nope.
I really do dislike pintle hitches. Every time they bind like that and they pop, it scares the crap out of me.
Stop the door. You're...
With the trailer safely backed up into the best position that it's going to get into, I want to try to get it a little bit more level. So we're going to jam a 2x4 under one side by the gravel so that when I do lower the deck that it's a little flatter on the concrete.
Just gonna make that side.
While I waited for my son to come over and give me a hand, I jacked up the mill and set it on some 1-inch black pipes so that we could roll it into the shop. I've said it before, it doesn't really take a whole lot to move these machines. If the Egyptians can build the pyramids like this, certainly I can move a 2,700-pound machine. I do try to be safe and not take any unnecessary, stupid risks. So here we're putting one of the ratchet straps just around it before the machine gets to that sloped part of the deck. So if it does start to roll, it's not going to be able to roll too far.
One of the rings there. No, I have enough. Okay, push.
So as I'm pulling this thing down, I'm always keeping in the back of my mind that if it does start to roll, then I'm going to run the other way and I'm just going to let it go. Luckily, that didn't happen.
Yep, just like that.
So this part of the move is controlled chaos, more or less. And I also didn't realize just how full the sump was of coolant.
Trying to move it down. Ready? Yep.
go. We'll take a few minutes here just to try to clean up some of this mess. We shouldn't have any more spills, at least unintentional ones, at this point. I had considered taking the power washer before I brought it into the shop and hosing it down as best I could, and even draining the sump into a bucket in the driveway. But I was advised against that, so I decided just to bring it into the shop as is, and I would deal with it inside. Right there.
Your back two coming off.
Let's get another pipe. Yeah, right about there. No, bring more of it over here because I want to try to spin it. That's good. All right, push it forward. I really do appreciate all the help my family gives me when I embark on these endeavors. I couldn't do it without them. Yes, absolutely. Say hello to my little friend. Well, here it is. This is a Kearney and Trecker Model 2HL plane horizontal mill. This is essentially the same as their Model 1H. It just has a 6-inch wider table. This should not be confused with their larger Model 2H. Based on the serial number, this machine was completed in January of 1942. And very coincidentally, my South Bend lathe was completed in January of 1942. At the time that this machine was built, Kearney and Trecker could not keep up with the customer demand. To combat this problem, K&T decided to outsource the assembly of some of their machines to a third party. And my machine was the first machine in the first lot that was assembled by the Mila Printing Press Company. Along with the mill, I did have all of the handles. They're all present. Also was included a couple of arbors and 2 overarm supports, the A-type and the B-type. And there on the ground next to the mill is an attachment. This is the standard high-speed adjustable universal milling attachment. The milling attachment is definitely one of those pieces that's sought after by owners of these mills. They are hard to come by. And even harder to come by is the drive gear that you place in the horizontal spindle that drives this attachment. And unfortunately, that drive gear was nowhere to be found in that machine shop. Luckily, my machine still had the parking attachment for the milling head on it. According to a price list that I found that was published around the same time, this machine had a price of $2,945. This particular machine was built with the high-speed option, which instead of a 35 to 1400 RPM range, it has a range of 60 RPM to 2400 RPM. That was a $60 add-on. In 2022, this machine would have a price of just shy of $59,000. In addition to what was already mentioned, I also received a bunch of 40 taper tooling. Got this nice Jacobs chuck. There's quite a few end mill holders and a few end mills that probably need to be sharpened. And some other oddities like this TG100 collet holder. And then there's this collection of spacers and bearing blocks for the arbors. I have no idea what this would be for. And there were also a few shell mill and face mill holders. And there was this massive face mill. It is missing a couple of cutters. And then there was also this staggered tooth key seat cutter. And Mike from Lee's Machinery also let me grab a couple of dozen random miscellaneous cutters that were in some of the tooling drawers in the shop. And then DJ from the Foxberg's Fabricoblin YouTube channel paid me a visit and brought me some 40 taper tooling that he had bought in a lot and didn't have a use for. It was very nice of him. It was a great gift. And along with that 40 taper tooling, he brought me a boring head. I needed one. Was hoping to find one eventually, but now I have one. Thanks, DJ. I really appreciate it. Now, saying all those good things, this machine is not without a few of the bad things. Obviously, it's filthy. It was covered in chips. It's got probably one of the worst paint jobs I've seen on a machine. But those are mostly cosmetic. It has one problem that I was able to identify while it was under power, and that is the Y-axis power feed lever does not move. Now, it might just be stuck, or there might be something broken inside of there, and I won't know that until I am able to take the feed distribution unit out of the machine. I will drain it of all of the oil and the coolant that's in the sump, and I will use whatever solvent I need to use to clean it out. I don't know the condition of the ways. They're just too dirty. I would like to take the table off just to see what the underside looks like. The top of the table has a number of areas in which it's been damaged, but nothing that I think will inhibit me from being able to use it. And there'll be a few other odds and ends that I'll need to take care of. So if you'd like to see more on this restoration, please hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you know when I post a new video. Thanks for watching.